Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to our weekly Bofuri discussion video. And today we are here to talk all about the penultimate episode of this season, or possibly the series, I don't know. We haven't heard much about a season 2 yet, at least I haven't. Anyway, we're here to talk all about episode 11, but before we get into the video proper, I do, as always, have to give a big thank you to some of you who shared last week's video over on Twitter. At Bubbalubber, at Janame, at Matt87Eagle, at Sirius9752, at Blue Rose Enigma, at 89 Nissan Cargo, at Talkalot Nazir, at Dragon Kid TV, at Zay Lunar Gazer, and at Jen the Slime. Thanks so much for sharing last week's video over on Twitter, everybody, and if you too would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Bofuri video, the final Bofuri video, kind of breaks my heart a little bit, then be sure to share this video around on the internet, and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout out the first handful of you in next week's video. Alright then, so digging into this week's episode, you could essentially say that this episode is a dual loss, essentially. I was talking a little bit last week about a sort of Empire Strikes Back penultimate episode, or the episode leading up to the penultimate episode, Empire Strikes Back type of thing. And somebody at Silverlink must have heard me, because this is essentially the Empire Strikes Back of Bofuri. It's the fall of two separate guilds, although it's more like the fall of one and the possible fall of another, the possible beginnings of a fall. Although I don't know if that will necessarily be what happens. Regardless, it is the fall of the Flame Emperors and the potential fall of Maple Tree. But again, we'll see. I have some theories on that we'll get to towards the end of the video. Before we begin, though, I want to talk about the Flame Emperors a little bit. In particular, I want to talk about Commander Me, and not me, but you, or not even you, but like me, the character, whatever. I want to talk a little bit about Me, the character, because I swear, she really gives it everything she's got here, and it's a testament, by the way, to Koji Ito, who really felt like. Koji Ito, as the action director, as his title is, he's basically, as far as I'm concerned, he's the chief animation director. This man going above and beyond to make sure that these fights mean something. Not just in terms of the narrative, but the fact that they're insanely big and bombastic, and anything that has Ito's name on it from now on, you know I'm going to be excited to see some of the glorious animation that the man brings to the table, because this is genuinely some of the best stuff he's worked on in Bofuri. And I would dare say that it might be his best work in Bofuri. The fight between Me and Maple is genuinely some of the best he's done. The smoke work, the beams, the explosions, the fire, everything about it moves with impact. Everything feels like it hit. Like there was a couple times where I was like drinking my cup of tea watching the episode going like ooh, like just a couple like oh damn. Like, and it's not so much like you see that like the girls react in a big way, but it's just like the power of the explosions, like the beams, the fire, everything hits with weight, and it feels great to rhyme a little bit there. But yeah, and the other thing that makes the fight important here is the fact that not only is Koji Ito's action direction hand at play, but also the fact that it's written really well as far as I'm concerned. We don't really get to see a whole lot of Commander Me, but she is a character who we've come to know as people have spoken about her, and so we came to know her as this like big important commander of the Flame Emperors, and oh my goodness, she must be so intense and so badass, which is why the scene of her kind of breaking that character was so impactful, because you assumed that she was this big important leader, and she still is, like she very much is, but it was something thrust upon her, not something that she willingly embraced, and her real personality is much more timid and shy and a bit of a flustered character. Like she's not really sure how she's holding it together, but she is. And it makes her fight with Maple feel more like it feels like it means more to her than it does to Maple. Maple's just out here trying to do the best for Maple Tree, and obviously she cares a lot about her guild, but if they lost this, she wouldn't lose them or anything. Whereas Me genuinely has a lot on the table. Like, if she loses here, she could potentially lose the respect of her guild, because that's how she must be feeling on the inside. So you feel as though there is genuinely something at stake here. And while other fights do have stuff at stake, it's mostly just in-game stuff. This is the first time that I actually felt like I really wanted one of these characters to pull through a victory, not because I wanted to see the story progress, but because I knew it would affect that character either in a positive or negative light. And I feel like it actually kind of reminded me of, and this is going to be super weird, but it reminded me of Majin Vegeta and Majin Buu in Dragon Ball. And I know that's a weird comparison, but Commander Mii really did remind me of Vegeta here, where you know that because the way the story is set up, there is no way that this fight is going to go their way. And yet you still root for them regardless, and you hate to see them lose because they poured that amount of character into it. Now, I am not comparing me potentially losing the respect of her online guild to Vegeta's character arc, which is arguably one of the best character arcs in anime. I'm just saying that it genuinely kind of reminded me of that, and I don't know how this will affect me going forward, but it did really sort of endear me to this character, and I am very excited to see what happens to her in the finale. As for the remainder of the episode, it's essentially the fight that we have been waiting for. It's Maple Tree going up against Holy Sword, and it was not... it didn't go down quite the way I had imagined it would. I thought that these two would meet on the field of battle, but instead, Holy Sword basically gets the one-up on Maple Tree because they sort of, like, the way it seems, it's as though Sally is trying to outmaneuver them in terms of how they must be strategizing taking them out, but then Pain manages to kind of out-strategy her, and he shows up with just the main group. He doesn't bring the whole guild, he actually probably leaves them behind to protect their orb, but he actually shows up with the main crew that we've seen before, like Dread and Drag and all those characters. So we actually see them show up inside Maple Tree's base. So now shit feels very intense, and Maple Tree's caught on the back foot, so obviously they don't have a ton of time to prepare. That said, there is like a bit of a showdown, like a verbal, like, you know, kind of jabbing at it, both guilds sort of jabbing at each other, before it ultimately leads to Pain versus Maple, which is something that we have been very much looking forward to, at least I have been. And I was genuinely kind of surprised with how things went down. This is very much a one-sided brawl. And again, like, they did catch Maple Tree off guard, but I was shocked at just how powerful and intimidating Holy Sword comes across in this week's episode. Now, we've known them to be very tough individuals in previous episodes. Obviously, Dread has been able to kind of outspeed Sally in certain elements. Not so much outspeed, but, like, you know what I mean. Like, he's been able to keep up with Sally, really shock her with his god speed. We've seen them, like, infiltrate Maple Tree's base before, so it's not unheard of for them to know where they were. And we've seen them be intimidating. But to this extent, to the point where they're able to hold them back and hold them down, that's impressive stuff. And I was genuinely kind of surprised. I liked seeing Chrome versus Drag, where they have that little showdown. That was cool stuff. All like the little, like, matchups I thought were really fun. But ultimately, you know, it's going to come down to Pain and Maple. And this is where things get really interesting, as Pain is actually able to not only put Maple on the back foot, he hits Maple hard. He's able to kind of cut through her defenses, and he delivers a hit that genuinely makes Maple scream, which is a surprise. And when I say scream, I don't mean like startled. I mean, this might be the first time I've truly seen Maple get hurt. Like, she is in pain, actually hurt. And when the point of the show is I put all my stats into defense so I didn't get hurt, that was a genuine shock. And that's how they end the episode. And I was like, ooh, damn you. You knew exactly where to cut. And I do think that some of my color theory from last week actually sort of came into play a little bit. Some of you may remember that I said that blue is a very confident color, and contrasting that with the light highlights of yellow could mean that that's a bit of overconfidence, as yellow is a very bold and loud color and a bit prideful. So the idea that you mix blue, which is typically a confident and calm color, with the yellow kind of indicates that Pain may have a bit of an ego, which is fair. He's the top player in the game, so that's not unheard of. And I don't know whether or not it's overconfidence or if it's being so excited at the concept of fighting somebody who can actually withstand some of his hits. Keep in mind that this is the top player of the game. Pain is the strongest, so he could actually be suffering from a bit of a Saitama dilemma, where he has become so strong that the game doesn't really seem exciting for him anymore, and maybe he's only sticking around because he cares about his guild and he's just not feeling it as much, but he can't leave them behind. I don't know if that's true, that's where I would go with it, but I don't know what they're ultimately going to do with Pain as the episode ends there, and we've only got one episode left to go, so I don't know if we're going to really dig into much of Pain's backstory, but I would love to see that. I'd love to see the final episode be sort of a glance at where Pain is mentally and see how things end up. I don't know if ultimately Maple Tree will manage to escape, or I don't really see them taking down Holy Sword. I would feel like that's a bit too much. I feel like Holy Sword should remain stronger because I expect to see a season 2. And I would like to see them take down Holy Sword at the end of a second season or possibly a third season. I do feel like it's too soon for them to take down Holy Sword, but I don't really want them to lose either, so I'm not sure what the outcome would be. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, where you guys are at, if you're anime only like me, what you're theorizing. If you're a light novel or manga fan, just keep quiet. Don't even tell me if I'm hot or cold. Just, you know what, actually you could say hot or cold, but don't spoil anything. Yeah, that's where my head's at for this week's episode. With that said, everybody, I'm gonna wrap up today's video here. I'd say that this episode is like the second to last cup of your favorite tea, where you know you've only got one bag of tea left of your favorite flavor, and so it's a little bittersweet knowing like, oh man, I only got one left. And that's it for today's video, everybody, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then be sure to go ahead and hit that like button and leave a comment down below, because it all pleases the almighty YouTube algorithm, which helps me out a ton, so if you choose to do so, kudos to you. And if you'd like to go that one step further to help the channel out, then go ahead and check out some of the mugs listed just under this video from our Teespring store. That is super appreciated. Or if you want to help out the channel more regularly, of course you can check out our Patreon like these lovely people that you see before you. And speaking of our patrons, I would like to give a big shout out to those of you in the Earl Grey tier. Izevi, Andrew, Branson, Calvin, Crowbar of Irony, Daniel, Digger the Fox, Dominic, Emily, Ionos, Urza, Ginkotaku, Godzilla Fan, No For Nothing, Maria, Marshall B, Mater, Mirth Mouser, Cell, Shadow Creative, Steven, Sakochi, Tristan, and Veridin. Thanks so much to all of you in the Earl Grey tier, as well as those of you in the Orange Pico tier. And if you too would like to join our T-Squadron, then be sure to check out the first link in the description to check out our Patreon page, see all the cool rewards you can get over there, as well as access to our Patreon exclusive Discord for as little as $1 a month. Once again, I want to thank you all so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys have a great day, and until next time, you stay classy, AniTube, and wash your dang hands.